more for... Okay. Questions?
Hi.
Hello.
Excuse me. Keep coughing.
I hope you're not spreading those germs
No, I
around.
think I've had enough days. I can't possibly be contagious, but I can't get rid of the cough. Sorry.
Okay, I just want to preface this presentation by saying that when we received the questions, and I sat down with my math department chair, and I don't have an ELA department chair, but Mrs. Weeks has been gracious enough to be kind of helping me out to run the ELA department. We approached the questions from the standpoint, what are you doing, meaning what are we doing? The three of us as kind of like the heads and the administration to support each other and to work with the staff. So that, I just want you to know that that was our interpretation of the question, what are you doing?
Right.
Not what is everybody in the school doing, but what are we doing? Okay, just so that that's how we answer them. Okay, the first page is the first question. What are you doing to improve the academic performance of students within your discipline? The first page is math, and some of the things that we've done this year are the computation books for students in math to keep their factual skills up. It's just books that they do certain problems every night, just addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, no word problems, no geometry, nothing, just basic facts. At the beginning of this year, we set up a homework policy set at each grade level, and we went by Mr. Gau's recommendation of 10 minutes per grade level. We set a time on learning. I don't know if policy is the right word, but we have definite set times that teachers are teaching math and teachers are teaching ELA.
In the minutes also.
Yeah, in the minutes from the fall. Ms. O'Neill is giving teacher support to the teachers with the new math series. She meets with them outside of department meetings to help with issues needing immediate attention. She models lessons if the teachers ask her, and she shares strategies for problem solving. We have a retired teacher that comes in, I would say almost every day.
Every day except Friday, except
This Friday, Miss O'Connell, yes.
She is wonderful.
And she's helping great.
And she
third
doesn't get
fourth
paid
grade.
either.
No, she doesn't. She's volunteering. I have a fourth grade teacher that is staying after and helping his students in his class after school with homework help. And
I
Scott,
stay.
yeah, and Judy does too. Judy stays with the homework help students. And then we have, Scott Forsman has a diagnostic intervention system that came with the math series. And we use that also with students that are low functioning to help teachers, to help them differentiate instruction in their classrooms.
Can I just ask a question?
Yes.
The homework help, is that the one, is that the children that were sort of identified? Or is this for just help?
This is for anybody.
Help.
We still have the ELL homework club that Mr. Ngano got through
For
the
the
grant.
children that,
That was the subgroup.
okay,
Yes.
so this is extra.
And this is even more.
on
Yes.
teacher's own time.
That's what
Yeah.
for children that
Just,
want to,
yeah, and it could be a different
Nice.
group of kids every day.
yeah,
And this is all voluntary.
Right.
Because
All
the
voluntary.
teachers are doing that above and beyond what they're expected to do.
And I mean, just a couple of other things, these, we belong to Mecca, which is the surrounding towns. Terry goes to the meetings once a month. They offer a lot of courses at very reasonable prices. Some of them are only $10, and they might only be 2 or 3 PDPs, but they're great courses. They might be 2 or 3 nights, and it might be something on math, or it might be something on reading. And a lot of teachers take advantage of that, and they're great. So there's a lot of teachers doing that as well. Okay, the next slide is the same thing on the ELA, the steps to improve academic achievement. Again, the homework policy has been set at every grade level. At the moment, we are investigating a new reading series. We have 2 teachers from each grade level piloting 2 new programs, Set Time on Learning. We have the peer tutors from the high school working with students at all grade levels. And we also have a retired teacher working with grade 1 students in reading, and that's Joni Marsh. She comes in a lot and works with grade 1,
Wow,
and helping the teachers down there.
that's great.
Okay.
We're
Any
so
questions before we
fortunate
move to the next-
to have these
to the next
people.
question? Yes, we are.
I guess I didn't realize you didn't have an ELA department head.
Well, I had one.
I know, I didn't.
And she resigned kind of mid-year, so I'm doing the best I can.
Yeah.
Just, and Susan, as I said, has been really great about helping out. Okay, the next question, what strategy are you proposing to assess the effectiveness of new programs?
We got plenty of chairs.
No one
You don't
wants to
have
sit
to
up
sit under
front.
the table.
I'm sorry, this is the next question. Strategies for assessing effectiveness of new programs. In the math, certainly MCAS has to be number 1 because hopefully we do well. We know our program's working. At every chapter, there's a pre and post test. At the beginning of the entire book, there's a pre-test. So you can actually assess your kids before you even start the book to see where they are. All grade levels have decided at the beginning of the year, with Judy's help, because there's so many assessments in this new series. There's all different kinds of assessments, all different ways to assess. So each grade level has decided what tests that are appropriate, that they feel are
For their
appropriate for their
assessment.
grade level, and they are all giving the same tests at each grade level. What we'd like to do, and some of this is going to overspill, and you're going to hear and see some of this in our school improvement plan, because this is all we talk about, is things like this. We want to start a longitudinal study in September, where we track the kindergartners all the way up through grade 4 and hopefully into grade 5. And we'd like to start that in September now that we'll have the new reading series and the new math series, and that we can really watch them from year to year. So that's something that we're hoping to
And how do you do, would you do that through a portfolio?
We
Or
would probably do that.
How would you do that?
It could be portfolio, but
Keeping-
we'd also like to, if you go to the next thing, the math series has software that comes with the program. The children
CD.
can take a test right online, right on the computer, and then all you have to do is, I mean, of course, we have to be trained in this, but you can hit some buttons
get rid of
and
that.
you can put all of these scores right into some kind of a data sheet or record. And this also, they have the same thing in the new, Scott Forsman, anyway, has it in the new reading series. I believe Houghton has it as well.
Harcourt does have it
I mean,
as well.
Harcourt has it as well. But if we could get something like that, it would be really helpful. If we can't get the software, we have a backup plan. And that backup plan would be, and I had actually one of my teachers, and this is just to show you, just an example of something that we could do, is this is on, say, a kindergarten level. You would have your chapter 1 test. These would be all the weaknesses. You would check off the areas that the child did poorly in, and then over here, you'd be able to put in like what type of intervention that you used to try to help that child do better in that. And then they could do the post-test after, and you could go back and copy. And then we would probably have to do some data entry of a different kind that, right now, I don't know what that would be, but, you know, it could be just an Excel sheet that you just input scores.
And then the parents could sort of view somehow to be able to help at their end, at their
Absolutely.
side,
Absolutely.
while you're helping on.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. So that's what we're hoping to do to assess the new math program. And we're kind of, because we know that this new reading series is very outdated, does not align with the frameworks, we're kind of, the things that we put in for the new reading program, we're kind of thinking about how we're going to assess the effectiveness of the new reading program. We're not talking about assessing the effectiveness of the program we have in place right now, because we know it's not effective.
Oh,
And
you're
that's
not
why we're
using it,
looking
right.
at a new program. So again, the effectiveness would show up in the MCAS, hopefully, if our scores go up. And these are some of the types of assessment that the new reading series will offer. And again, both pilot programs offer informal assessment, diagnostic assessment, formative assessment, which means end of every chapter or end of every unit, and then summative assessment, which is a type of carryover, so that, for example, in spelling, a child learns a list of spelling words, they get 100 because they study the words on a Thursday night. But then when they go to write a story, are they still spelling those words correctly? That's summative assessment. Do they carry over what they learned
Can I
into
ask
other
a
areas?
question?
Yes.
Between all of the testing and all of the assessing, when do you teach?
Good question.
There's only so many hours in a day,
That's right.
and I just don't understand. I mean, I really think we're getting too deep into assessing. I think the teachers need to know who needs help in their class and what areas they need help in. But I think there's only so many hours in a day to teach, and there's so many kids in a classroom with so many different needs that need individual attention. I don't understand how you can do all this teaching, or all this testing, and all this assessing, and depend on teachers to be doing this after hours on their own time. I think we're overdoing this.
Well,
That's just my commentary on it. I think kids need to learn with more faith in the teachers in the classroom to determine. They're professionals. Let them do their jobs, and I think the principals and I think the department heads should monitor them and try to find out how to do the job. But I think this is, I don't know when the heck you teach.
well, these are the
Our time on learning can't be what it's supposed to be.
these
It's
are
not
the
testing every day.
Yeah, they're not testing. These are the tests that the program offers. But then if you go to the next bullet, again, the grade levels are going to decide which
And the cheers.
assessments they feel are certainly important and which ones are appropriate. And they will decide as grade levels.
And I would imagine right now you're feeling your way through these new things.
Absolutely.
And it's going to come easier for you later.
Certainly end of unit tests are helpful.
And Jerry, a lot of these tests are checking learning. I mean, you're
Right,
checking-
like on a kindergarten level, a math test might be, 10 questions? Yeah, on a kindergarten level. It's 10, 5 on one side and 5 on the other. And they may not even do all 10 on the same day. They may do 5 on one day and 5 on the next, depending on what it is. So it's not as bad as it sounds. It is,
Well, it sounds to me like it's very time consuming. And I'm looking at this. I mean, these are just a couple of meetings,
Right.
a couple of notes.
well, we talk a lot. We do discuss
Not to
things.
not to mention the time to prepare for these meetings,
Right.
but then to try to implement that. I mean, these are just ideas. They gotta implement them. That takes more time.
The next 3 things are the same as what we'd like to do in the math, is the longitudinal study, starting with K students, investigate the software for whatever reading series we go with, and then devise something like this again if we had to have a backup plan and we didn't get the software, try to come up with some kind of tracking
That's a great
system,
idea.
weakness.
Now, none of these, none of them come with the software?
Yes, they all come up.
They all come with the software, so it's nothing that we have to budget to purchase.
Well, yeah.
It's going to be,
They all come with the cost. Okay.
well, everything
How
does.
expensive is this stuff?
It's a one-shot deal.
Yeah.
So once you pay for it, it's ours. Well, actually, Harcourt is every year
Harcourt is
cheaper,
per
but you have to
pupil.
pay every year. Scott Forsman is per classroom, and it's a one-shot fee.
Relative to how many classes you have.
Yeah.
We've negotiated a pretty good deal.
We have,
with
yes, we've been negotiating. Yes, we have. So we're pretty confident that we can
So you think you're going to get what you need?
get what we need.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, the next one. Are there standards that you might suggest for standardizing assessment methodology for new and existing programs? Well, all the assessments that are being used with the new math series and those that will be used with the new reading series are aligned to the Massachusetts frameworks, and that's our guide. That's what we follow. That's what we have to teach, and these books have been written to follow those guides. And to me, the final proof is our MCAS scores, unfortunately.
Is that the only
Well,
test?
that's why MCAS was put in, right?
Is that the only testing, that's the only standardized testing at the 3rd and 4th grade level? Yes, we have no
We don't
standardized
do
testing.
Iowa.
No more Iowa,
and
no more Terra Nova.
That Terra Nova, because Ginny and I go, I don't think we do that
I
anymore.
mean, that's supposed to be the whole premise of MCAS, isn't it? I mean, I'm not a professional educator,
No.
but my understanding is that we're doing all this is so that we can give a test and see how we rank,
And if that's
how we
what the...
compare to other communities
Right,
in
and
the
if
state.
that's what the state is asking, that's what the state
Oh,
wants.
you have to pass that 10th grade, or you're not graduating.
So the No Child Left Behind uses the MCAS as well?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
accepted.
Seeing one is federal and one is state, I didn't know if they accepted it.
It's accepted.
Okay, great.
Because that's where all that AYP...
We're trying to figure out where the AYP fit in.
That's
We
where
had
the
that conversation. I'm like, I believe it's connected with an MCAS thing.
MCAS does two things. MCAS will measure the achievement of the child and also measure where you are with your curriculum.
And they also have individual reports on kids as to what, I mean, where the child's weak on an MCAS test.
MCAS has bought, the state of Massachusetts has bought TestWiz, which we've been using
At the high school?
5 years before they bought it. So we were ahead of the game, and when they bought it and said everybody could use it, because we were paying for it, now it's free for every school system. So we were ahead of the game, we knew how to use TestWiz, so, we were very functional in being able to generate reports that would show us the student's strengths, weaknesses, and be able to pinpoint curriculum strengths and weaknesses.
And I think I asked at another meeting, but is TestWiz at the middle school and at the elementary school, is that a district?
TestWiz, you can download TestWiz, but you just won't have the test scores to put in there, which we download from the DOE website.
But that's something a parent could get through its
they won't be
teacher
able to-
on a student.
Yes,
That's what I'm asking.
Yes.
A certain parent with their child.
yes,
We could go to their
yes.
my child's teacher I could go to for
Go to
math.
guidance and get it if you want.
Oh, guidance
Can we
too.
run it down, do we have that on every kid in the system?
Yes.
Just we have a,
Well, not every teacher has it, but
All the department heads have.
department heads
All the
and
department
myself,
heads have it?
and, yeah.
now, do they pull it down for every kid?
Only if you
I
ask.
can. I can
No, but do
go.
we?
Yeah, well, we get the results on every kid
Okay,
in a packet from the DOE, so
okay, so you don't need to pull.
I don't need to pull it down at that
Okay.
point, but if I wanted to go in and generate a graph or, there's so many things you can do with it. I need to
Okay,
refresh
but
the scores at
you
this
get the
point.
information you need
Yeah,
that tells you exactly where
Absolutely.
each kid is weak and
Absolutely.
strong and it's on an
Absolutely.
individual basis.
and you're going ahead of me because that's the next slide.
Okay, I'm sorry, but that's, just trying to understand
Yep.
what we get from MCAS and
That's
what,
what we- yeah.
and that's, I
Okay.
think that's what we're looking at doing.
So strategies to address MCAS shortcomings in math, all staff, every single staff member are given the areas of weakness each year after we analyze the results. And we do that, we list them, and they're in the minutes, I believe you have all that in the minutes from
We set a
Fall meetings.
benchmark, which we raised from last year. It was 70 last year, we raised it to 75 this year. So anything that fell below 75 was considered
a
a weak.
weakness.
You know the students who are at risk that you need to
Absolutely.
concentrate on, and you need, the weak areas of those who are doing better, correct?
Well, we have nothing to base the math on because the third graders didn't take math,
Oh,
so.
that's right, okay. Yeah.
Every staff member is given a copy of the MCAS math test, and grade 4 has copies dating back through 1999. Also, at my open house this year, I had copies of the MCAS test available for any parent that wanted to take them. And it was really funny because grade 1, very few. Grade 2, very few. Grade 3, grade 4, they were like, it's funny that the grade 1 parents weren't interested in seeing. And I did a little talk and I said, this isn't just a grade 4 thing, this is a culmination of
We don't get
all
that,
the
though. We
grades,
think it's 4, 8, and
working
10.
up to grade 4. And very few parents on the K1, 2 level took them. A few on 3, but boy, those grade 4 parents, they did go after them to see what they were up against.
I just want, grade 4 uses those, they give them to the kids as a test, so they can tell where the kids are weak. And so they can work on that skill.
The test changes every year, so, 1 year you may have, 4 geometry questions, so you might think, I got to really get the geometry in, and then the next year test
One.
could only have 1 question on it, so you never know, but they are good for practice. The new series on every grade level has an MCAS test prep booklet, every single level. It's a little paper, it's made out of like newspaper print, and the teachers use them, just maybe one question a day. You know, they might put it on the board to start the class off, just to do so these little kindergarten kids are getting used to taking this type, you know, looking at a type of question and filling in the circle, so that by the time they get up,
Oh, how they fill it in the test.
Again, we have the retired teacher helping grade 3 and 4 students. Grade 3 there have been sample tests on the DOE for the math, because they're taking the math test this year for the first time. Judy's been downloading those sample tests and giving them.
There's only been one.
Just one so far. And then she took the class through Mecca called MCAS and Manipulatives, and she's been giving the 3rd and 4th grade teachers the tips that she got from that class. She's been sharing
Taught
those.
by a woman who corrects the MCAS.
Did she give you the answers, Judy?
They change every year.
Yeah, the last year's.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, pretty much the same for ELA. The staff is given the areas of weakness each year after we analyze the results. All staff are given a copy of the test. Grades 3 and 4 are given sample questions to use as practice. I get a lot of stuff in the mail that they want you to buy, different types of practice tests. And I usually look at what grade level and I'll go put them in teachers' mailboxes, and they use them. They like them. We have the peer tutors from the high school helping students in ELA, and we have our retired teacher volunteering in grade 1. And that takes care of that. Now, under curriculum, we answered kind of all the questions under curriculum on this one slide, but one slide for math, one slide for reading. Under how are you as chairs assessing that all instructors are adhering to agreed curriculum? Well, myself and Judy share ideas. We share ideas and materials at the department meetings. Every week we have a grade level meeting. I have staff meetings once a month. I do classroom visits, and I check plan books. So that's certainly a lot of what, you know, we're talking a lot. We're, you know, where are you, where should we be? The pacing and sequencing guide in the new math is being followed. Judy's been checking on that, and if monthly checks need to be made, if there's a certain group or a grade level that seems to be behind, she has done a really good job about helping them to move along, and will readjust their schedule. She did some mini lessons to try to help them. We did have one grade level that was a little bit behind where we felt they should have been. So Judy devised some mini lessons to try to help them kind of get through the chapter that they were on a little bit quicker so that they could move along, and they're doing pretty well now.
Well, it was actually the chapters that they might not get to in time for MCAS. So these mini lessons would cover that material.
I noticed in the minutes that there were, you know, it seemed like they were falling
Yeah.
further and further behind, so I was wondering and I saw that there were obviously
And again,
some things were
it being a
skills.
new series, they're, you know, they're trying their best to work for mastery. And in a lot of these areas, you don't have to work for mastery, because Scott Forsman has every day what's called a spiral review. So every day, you're constantly going back over concepts that have been learned, and you're going back over them all the time. So Judy, you know, met with them all, and she said, look, you know, you don't really have to keep, you know, beating the dead horse here till they've all got it. You can go and move on, because you're going to come back to it. And we got them moving along. They're doing pretty
In
good right now.
fairness, that one grade, and I think it's in the January minutes,
Yeah.
had never been exposed to any of that material. It was brand new for the teachers as well as the students. So that is why it's taking them so much longer, because there was no exposure. It was just like learning a new language where you knew nothing. That's basically where they were going from.
We feel that the instructional materials are meeting the needs of all the students, everything that has come with this new math series. We don't feel that any new materials or programs are needed at this time. And we also have some common planning time, where I have 7 teachers, they all can't be free at the same time, but we devised our special schedules this year so that we have 4 of them, at least 4 of them together, so that they can have some time, and then on another day, 4 others that would overlap so that they can talk about what they talked about with the other teachers. So we don't have an entire grade have common planning, because there's only 5 specials in a week, so I can't do all 7, for example.
Isn't that
But
what
we're
the
doing the
15
best we
minutes a
can.
day was supposed to be at the beginning of the day?
That's our grade, that's where we meet at grade level. No, that kindergarten has that, their time in the morning, that's where we, when we change the kindergarten. Yeah. All right, under curriculum for ELA. Again, through grade level meetings, staff meetings, classroom visits, plan books, all teachers are following the current curriculum. They are staying on schedule with the reading series that we're using now. Certainly the problem areas, the current series is outdated, materials are unavailable, and it is not meeting the needs of all students. So that's why we're where we are right now, looking at this new series. Down under testing standards, are all teachers using the same criteria for testing, evaluation, student success? How is this achieved? Are grading standards uniform? Well, certainly, again, MCAS is what we always look to. And the Scott Borsman assessment tools are appropriate to the needs of all students. And every grade level has their own grading policy. We set grading policies at every grade level. It's not school-wide, it's grade level-wide, because certainly 4th grade
Oh, right.
would be quite different than K or
What they
1.
call its grading.
So each grade level worked at the beginning of the year to come up with their own grading
I
policies.
noticed that in the minutes that you're
Yep.
meeting together,
Yep.
uniform grades.
And then under testing standards for ELA, again, reading MCAS again, the new reading series assessment tools. And right now, teachers are using uniform tests at each grade level. They have their end of unit tests. When the new reading series goes into effect, teachers will determine which assessment best suit the needs of their grade and their students. And again, grading policies are uniform across grade levels. Common instructional strategies. This one was difficult because even though we meet every week, we have department meetings, we have grade level meetings, we have staff meetings, not all teachers teach the same, and not all students learn the same. So they can talk about things that work for them, they can share their ideas, but sometimes what works in some classrooms does not work for other classrooms. So are we talking and are we sharing? Yes, but I don't want to say that every teacher is doing the same type of activity
At the same time.
at the same time.
Every day.
Because
Right.
not all
That makes
students
sense.
learn the same way. Teachers use strategies that work for their classes, and those may differ from year to year. You know, you know that. Sometimes you have a great lesson, it works wonderful, so you go to do it the following year, and it bombs because you have a different group of kids in front of you. Again, ideas are shared and discussed at grade level meetings, and 2 years in a row for our March proficiency grade, we had teachers come with their best practices, and that was just kind of a share. They brought with them their poster board, whatever they devised, little lessons. It might have just been
That's
a little
nice.
5-minute story, you know, I tried this and it worked really well, and it was a great way to get them to kind of get up and talk about their successes. And we end with our summary and our predictions. The Clinton Elementary School staff is working together to make sure that no child is left behind, and CES will make AYP. And I hope.
You will.
I hope.
Thank you very much. The
Thank
minutes
you, Kelly.
are excellent. I have to
Yeah.
say that I found that your minutes made it very easy. I would have to say if you had seen these earlier, which for some reason we hadn't seen, there was a lot of information.
Yes, and a lot of the questions were answered.
Through the
I-
minutes.
We just didn't have a lot of the material.
I didn't.
I guess 2 questions. Number, so you obviously, it's a new program.
Yes.
You're happy with the program, and it seems to be the things that the areas where it's fallen behind slightly. Obviously, there were skills and mastery, if I got the language through your minutes, and so and the things that they don't have to get
Well,
right away.
Scott Forsman teaches above
Right.
MCAS, so that there are skills that there's a scope and sequence in the front of the book, and it tells each grade level whether this skill has to be mastered, whether it can just be introduced. All right? And once the teachers understood that, they, you know,
And do we feel when MCAS rolls around, like, a larger percentage? Do we think a larger percentage
We
is?
do.
Okay, which is good. No, I mean, I understand.
this is
Good for
very
you.
fair. When you compare this to Mathland, Mathland was more language-based, which was unfair to one population.
Right.
And this one,
That's
that
critical
population
thinking.
seems to be doing better with
Logical.
Yeah, that was my other question, because in here I see notes. I mean, obviously, there's some cases where comprehension or there's a note in here, children in lower grades having difficulty with word problem solving. I mean, so you're drawing attention to that. And you're
This
helping
one,
them.
the vocab is huge, and we're really getting those ELL students to understand the vocabulary. And I just want to say, I'm going to give each of you one of these. You know, we didn't pick Scott Forsman just haphazardly, you know, off the apple tree. These are all research-based programs, and I just want to show you that this is...
Well, I hope you don't think that we think you pick things
No,
haphazardly.
I
mean,
don't. But
I hope
just-
that's not how we're coming
I just feel like
across.
I have to say that, you know,
Wasn't
we
Ouija's
studied
word.
this. We studied, and, you know, we had these people come to the school, and there were several different companies that came, and the teachers had a chance to hear presentations by all of them. We took surveys. We did,
teachers actually took,
yeah.
we had a day where they each took a series and they each grade dissected and decided which one they liked best. And Scott Forsman was voted 100% for.
And the feedback that I get from the teachers absolutely love teaching it. They really love it, and I hear that constantly. So I am confident.
You can see the difference almost
I noticed, because I do 3rd and 4th grade Title
immediately
I,
from Mathland.
what they were learning in 4th grade last year, they're learning in 3rd grade this year. So they are learning stuff a lot earlier.
It seems
And
simple, back to
if you look at
basic.
a kindergarten book, everything in the kindergarten book and the 1st grade book is taught in 4th grade. So it's just they keep stepping the difficulty up each grade level. And the vocabulary was all there. That's when we fall behind on MCAS, kids remembering the word. I looked at a 1st grade book, symmetry is in there. And before, the kids never really saw that word till maybe the end of 3rd grade or 4th.
Okay,
yeah.
So now they're learning it way down here.
That's great. Keep our fingers crossed.
You got it.
I appreciate all your work.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you
do.
very much, Judy and Jerry. Thank you a lot.
And I just want to acknowledge, I appreciate, as your board appreciates,
Yes, we do.
the teachers are doing too.
Absolutely. They're
It's
the
always
ones.
had to.
They're the ones.
The parents do
Change
too.
anything and change a whole new program.
If there was
It's a
one
lot of work.
suggestion I would make, I would definitely do this in Kelly Green.
You know,
Especially in
I think it was a really nice presentation.
That red is so bold, though. I love that.
thank you very much.
Jerry, Jerry,
Thanks,
I
Jerry.
know how to get it.
Hit delete.
Middle school?
Yes, while the ladies are setting this up, I'd like to give each of you
Hi, Mrs.
the
Carroll.
final
How are you?
middle school brochure.
You
This is the final product.
You brought your
Did Robert
presentation.
Epstein make this?
No,
We got your
no.
minutes.
This
This is the final product.
Thank you.
This is Donna's
Oh, yes, I
Donna's
got
Beck's
this. Thank
class,
you.
right?
This is nice.
This is Donna's class, right?
And I want to publicly thank David Dunn and Company for printing 1,200 of these for free for the middle school. He gave them to us today, and they're all over the town. So
Yep.
that's Donna Beck's class. The kids did it.
Do you have
They
any
came
in the town
before.
clerk's office?
I think our council members brought them all over town today, so that's a good idea. They're going to give them the real kids' office.
People come in
and-
there all the time.
Lawyers, I mean, libraries.
So
Oh, I
thank you to
did,
Mr.
yeah.
Dunn. 12,
We bring
these are very
Mr. Dunning
expensive.
and thank him.
You know we
That'd be a
do.
nice idea.
Michael, we do have wonderful people who support us all the time.
He's doing an extraordinary
I love
job.
that.
Unbelievable.
I would like to bring him in and thank him.
That'd be a nice
Absolutely.
gesture.
Consider it done.
No, that's him.
Oh, okay.
Okay, while they're setting up, I just want to say that...
Thank you.
Mrs. Sargent and I received these questions. We looked at them together as department heads and discussed them together. And then we each sent them out to our department teachers that are in the department. So we went, the question is, in their you, we went it as a plural you. That what are all of you doing? Not just us as a department. Not
Are we?
just two of us. Our teachers, what are our teachers doing too? So we took it a little bit different because you could interpret that question either way.
Take an
Singular or
MCAS
you,
test, how
plural.
you interpret the question?
And that phone call I got
We
was
technically
my
did
daughter
it
and your
both
daughter.
ways.
What?
That phone call was just now.
Oh,
No,
I thought
They-
you were talking
I read all
about
your
what
minutes.
the
Thank you very
content
much.
was. I didn't know.
And it,
So,
you might be stepping out.
that was
Very nice.
My daughter? Where are they?
No, I'm not going to give her any.
Keep it.
Doing the homework.
Yeah,
Are we ready?
we're in.
This morning at 7:45,
Did Mary get one of these?
I think Mary should get one.
Mary.
In the spirit of math, I want to wish this committee Happy Pi Day.
Oh, yeah. I heard
This
about
morning,
this
Mrs.
one.
D'Onofrio, my math teacher, came to me, reminded me today, March 14th, 3.14 is Pi Day. So on behalf of our math teachers, we're going to present the school
What do
committee
we
with
get for
free
the Ides
pies.
of March?
Yeah, what was
Well,
it? We
I
have a
love
day.
that.
tomorrow,
That's one
right?
way of,
Free pies, Pi Day.
This is something they do with the students, so you're just like your students.
Give one to Karen.
they do this
She
at the
looks
first
hungry.
competition too for that spaghetti dinner. They,
Pi Day.
Pi Day.
Thank you.
This is a good meeting.
thank you. I'll go home and have this with my tea. I love that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very nice.
My dinner today.
Didn't give you one, Karen?
Well, I would share,
That's a lot of
Karen.
fun.
Okay. First of all, when Mr. God gave me these questions, like Patty said, I went to Anne Marie and Patty. 2 years ago, when this committee allowed the Clinton Middle School to have department heads at our building, it was one of the best things that ever happened to us. It's given us direction in both departments. It's connected our grade levels. It's one of the best things that's happened to me as a principal because I have people here that bring it all together. So I'm going to go over this program tonight. I'll get through it as quick as I can for you, but I want to thank my teachers, my two department heads, and every one of my teachers in both ELA and math for taking part in it. It's a working document. Some of the things, there's some needy areas we want to address, but again, I want to thank them. So the first question, what are you doing to improve the academic performance of students within your discipline? These are the math responses. Of course, using MCAS results to find strengths and weaknesses. Using the frameworks to guide our curriculum. Continuing to go to workshops and get professional development in the area of math. Provide MCAS extra help sessions during and after school. Using the new math series, Scott Forsman, grades 5 and 6. Conversing with fellow educators about how to effectively teach concepts and meet individual children's needs. That is as important as anything else because there's no more alienation. There's no more a 5th grade teacher saying, I just teach 5th grade. Now you've got teachers talking. You've got 5th grade teachers talking to 6th grade teachers, and believe it or not, 8th grade teachers talking to 5th grade teachers. So it's crucial talking with fellow educators about how to effectively teach concepts and meet the needs of kids. That's what it's all about. Using block periods to cover aspects of the book that may not be covered before the MCAS test. The next responses are around Patty Kerrigan and ELA. Nope.
Still math.
So the next one, math, excuse me.
It's still math.
Okay, what are you doing to improve the academic performance of students within your discipline? Differentiating instruction for individual success. That's an area that we're being updated on. I've got a professional development day tomorrow, and I've got Mary Garcia, Roy Riley talking about ways how we can differentiate instruction in each individual class. MCAS coach books for each grade level. Open response questions. Now what this says, we're showing what a 3, a 4, a 2, and a 1 and a 0 look like. What I do is, on an open-ended response, a perfect response is a 4. That's the highest you can get. Then a 3, a 2, a 1, and a 0. A kid can actually write something down and still get a 0-4. What I do at the beginning of every year in September, I go on the DOE website and I go to the MCAS section and I download actual student responses. For example, last year's 4th grade kids who took the math test, it shows actual student responses. What a child did to get a 4, so it'll give his answer, what a 3 looks like. So we use that in our teaching and our instruction. Kids, it's a rubric, and kids know what's expected of them. After school MCAS extra help for kids. First time we've done this, who failed the test in grades 4 and 6. Journal writing in all math classes, how important writing is in math. Vocabulary development. If kids don't know what a concept means, they're not going to be able to answer the question. I tell kids, and I see it every day in class, that one of the most important skills in mathematics is reading the question. Tutorials during the day based on kids' needs.
Can I cut in for a second?
Sure, please.
I just have to show you this quickly. I don't
Please.
mean to.
Yeah, no, I want you
I
to.
love the journal writing thing.
This
is how the tutorials are made for the math students. It's individualized. This is a diagnostic test that's given to each 6th grade student, 5th grade student from the new series. The teachers take them home, correct them. And what it does is all the X's mean areas that that student is not confident or weak in. So then you go up to the top and it gives you the intervention system, which are the worksheets or books that we need to go back for each individual student. So what I did for my team, and I know Mrs. Sargent, Lisa, on the other team, we made individual folders for each 6th grade student, and that's how we are trying to get these skills caught up. So this is a great tool from the new Scott Forsman.
That's a lot of work.
That is a lot of
So I
work.
just wanted to show you that this is a great series that you purchased for us, and we do appreciate it. And we are making great use of it.
Now, 6th grade is using it,
5th and 6th.
5th and 6th.
All the access.
And 7th and 8th grade, do they use that?
There's a lot of students.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
7th and 8th grade.
7th and 8th have a different math series. This specifically comes with Scott
Excuse me,
Forsman.
okay,
That's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
Were you
yeah.
successful with your math walls? I noted that somewhere in the beginning of your...
Yes.
That was for vocabulary, wasn't it?
Yes, and we do hang them up. Yes,
Okay.
if you come through grade 5 and 6, definitely, it's everywhere.
Okay.
It's nice, and it just reiterates in vocabulary from chapter 1 that you see in chapter 5, it's still there, and they can make the connection. Perfect.
Thank you, Emery.
Oh, my God. That is a lot of work.
After tutorials. Unit assessments. Test is to ensure lessons and intended learning outcomes are consistent. Diagnostic test given, which Anne-Marie just mentioned. A homework policy, which we try to make consistent throughout the grades. Peer tutors from Clinton High School, as well as we have, you had Mrs. Quist, who was in here earlier. She has a youngster who goes to the Advanced Math and Science Academy in Worcester, and part of his, if you will, like responsibility for like a National Honor Society, he has to go out and service other students, so he comes here and works with our 6th grade kids. So we thank him for that, Mr. Quist. What's his first name?
Nathan.
Nathan Quist. We thank you, Nathan, for doing it. Also, our kids from Clinton High School come over on a daily basis, so we thank them. Modeling and looking at student work. That's a buzzword that we first heard about 5 years ago. Looking at student work every day is a crucial way of instruction and learning. Patty, this is ELA next?
Yes.
Okay. ELA, what are you doing to improve the academic performance of students? Direct teaching, students involved in lessons, cooperative groups, peer tutors, differentiated assignments, selection of more demanding materials for kids who can handle it, use of rubrics, daily journals to improve creative and general writing, set higher standards for on-time completion of work, multisensory instruction, performances in drama. For example, I know Nancy Erickson, who's retiring this year, but Nancy teaches in a way that is wonderful. She'll be doing Shakespeare, and she'll have kids dressed up as the characters, and she does that no matter what part of the American history she teaches as well. So it's drama performances, kids learning by doing. Focus on spelling, grammar instruction when possible. A sentence of the day journals to focus on improvement of recognizing errors in writing. MCAS Sharpen Up practice books for identification of weak areas. ELA again. What are you doing to improve the academic performance of students within your discipline? Teaching appropriate skill from the math frameworks. Open response, multiple choice novel test. That's important. We want our kids, we want our teachers, and I told them, I said it's important that you assess the way kids are assessed in the MCAS. For example, you want to give open-ended responses in your weekly testing. You don't want to give all multiple choice. We don't test that way. So you want your instruction, you want your assessment in line with the state expects kids to learn. Vocabulary on achievement test. Essays, homework clubs, and extra help after school. After school writing program, we have a teacher, Mr. Richard Quirk, in the 6th grade, who has started a writing club after school, volunteers his time again for kids who are interested in pursuing writing. Unit assessments, yearly reinforcement of reading skills, a homework policy, and right now we're currently piloting a new reading and language series in grade 5. A lot of work these teachers did for this document, and I'm trying to get through it. Next is math. What strategy are you proposing to assess the effectiveness of your new program? Specifically, how are you going to assess Scott Forsman in the new reading program? In math, there's one way to assess it, and the state tells us what that is, and that's MCAS test results and progress towards AYP. Using these assessments to evaluate kids. Try to incorporate as many of the components of the program as possible. Communicate with the other grade level teacher. What's working? What could you supplementing? Where to incorporate more hands-on activities and sharing ideas? look closely at kids' grades on the report card, and then look at the achievement on a standardized test. How can you justify a child getting A's on a report card, B pluses, and then warning on a test? So we want our teachers, and it's happening more now than ever, making sure that you test and you challenge those kids, and that grade in the report card reflects the aptitude of the kid. Checking for student comprehension by correcting homework, differentiating instruction, pre and post test, a 3-year growth period. That's where we're looking at. We're not looking at overnight miracles with this new series, so we're looking at a 3-year growth period with the new series, and maybe look at the results, and that'll justify us buying this or not, and we feel good about it right now. ELA. What strategy are you proposing to assess the effectiveness of the new programs and the new reading program? For ELA, MCAS test results, that's number 1. Pre and post testing as well as midterm exams. Interest and exit diagnostic exams to determine skill level of comprehension for reading. All new materials overdue for grades 5 and 8 ELA. Again, we'll get into this later, but our ELA curriculum that we have right now is getting up there, and that's a criteria or priority for us, the middle school, to pursue a new program for grades 5 and 8 ELA. It's a long time coming. Math. Next question. Are there standards that you might suggest for standardizing an assessment methodology for new and existing programs? All grade level standards from the state are assessed. Having an entrance diagnostic and exit diagnostic exam for all students in appropriate languages if needed. Let me sort of add my own 2 cents here. As I mentioned this at the last meeting, there's no exemptions in the math test for ELL students. Meaning, we have, for example, and I mentioned that at the last meeting, I went to Janet Carey's, we're testing every grade level this year at the middle school in math. Every 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th kid is being tested with the same test. And the injustice of this, in my opinion, is the more I see it, and I'm in favor of assessment, I'm in favor of accountability, is that we have kids who have entered this country this year for the first time, and they're taking a math test that everyone else is taking. It's in English. They do not have the math test in the student's native language. So talk about ruining a kid's self-esteem, sometimes hurting the self-esteem of teachers. It's not fair sometimes. And the MCAS test, in my opinion, they need to readjust their thinking, the DOE, and come up with a better idea maybe of diagnosing math scores in a kid's native language, because it just doesn't make sense right now. If a youngster, a little boy or girl who comes here, who is barely reading at 3 years behind grade level, is going to be forced to take an 8th grade math test in the English language, where reading is a criteria, the number 1 criteria for math, and these youngsters, not only the Clinton Middle School, but schools throughout this Commonwealth, who come from different countries, are up against that barrier. To me, it's an injustice. That's my 2 cents worth. Using a curriculum guide that's aligned to the frameworks. All of our content areas, especially right now, I can say math and ELA, we're working on it, but math, we have an up-to-date curriculum guide that's a work in progress, where our teachers are teaching framework material, and the new book that we have, that was the selling point because it was aligned with the frameworks. Looking at previous year's MCAS results, which we constantly do using TestWiz as well. Track the yearly progress. Portfolios. All of our kids right now in the middle school have a portfolio, and for example, Mrs. Sargent, a 6th grade math teacher, she's going to include in each child's folder test,
Written work
in math.
MCAS open response questions that they've answered, in 6th grade, quizzes, and then they get to pick 3 pieces that they would like in it themselves, whether it be a test, a project grade, or a written paper, because we do a lot of journal writing. They get to put that in, and it's our intent to pass that on to the 7th grade teachers, and this is the first year we are doing that.
This is only starting in 6th grade, though.
No, it's 5th grade too.
But every grade level has a folder on each child because of the math tutorials. So it's our hope that 5th will send them to 6th, 6th to 7th, 7th to 8th, and then 8th.
We really want to get this going next year in September, so it's across the board for every kid and every teacher. Mr.
Everybody will
Garland
have
sent that
a
message. I like the idea, so we want to start that next September, Judy. All assessments from the new series are aligned with the mass curriculum frameworks. ELA. Are there standards that you might suggest for standardizing an assessment methodology for new and existing programs, English language arts, testing scope and sequence of skills, comprehension levels, a program word list for spelling, core words, review words, and challenge words, holistic writing assignments, and running records of students? What strategies are you employing to address, boy, this is something, and this is what we've done. What strategies are you employing to address shortcomings in MCAS? Grades 5 and 6 teachers took part in a Tips for MCAS workshop. We've used past MCAS tests as needed. We used the results as a guide to the strengths and weaknesses of the incoming students. We're trying to improve their vocabulary in the area of math. We're continuing to discuss, model, and practice what's expected in an open response answer, what a 4 is, what a 3 is, what a 2, and so forth. We're continuing offering extra help after school in the area of MCAS. We're continuing to stress how how important they are to the academic success of their children. Their support is needed. Teachers can't do it all alone. Simulation of tests made by the text company. Math daily writing folders. Continuing teaching with the frameworks as a guide. New series, the new series we have, Scott Foreman has an MCAS prep section. Projects and interdisciplinary units. Under ELA, what strategy are you employing to address shortcomings in MCAS? Use past MCAS tests as needed. Use the results as a guide to the strength and weakness of the incoming students. Simulation of tests. Use of materials created by various companies. Writing folders. Collecting 3 genres of writing and passing them on by grade. So Patty, you want to talk a little bit about that?
I think I addressed that at one of our earlier meetings in October, how that we're doing, Mr. Vetras gave money to buy writing folders, which every student has, and all writing goes in there, and at the end of the year, they can choose 3 different types of genres that they want to pass on to the next grade. And we're going to, I believe the high school does the same thing from grade level to grade level in ELA, and we're going to pass them right on to the high school, and by then they can, pick and choose what they want to do with it.
Continuous teaching with the MAS framework standard as a guide. Projects, interdisciplinary themes, multi-concepts as part of a project. For example, I know our 5th grade, I was in class today, they're currently doing the Rainforest Project, and science, math, social studies, and ELA are all involved in this, and it's a great way to see teachers as well as kids working together in their content areas.
We do one every quarter. That's our 3rd one. So every quarter there is an interdisciplinary unit.
Teaching novels and short stories through open response and multiple choice methods. That enhances critical thinking skills. All right, next question. Curriculum. How are you as the chairs, this is Anne Marie and Patty, assessing that all instructors, your teachers, are adhering to agreed curriculum and utilizing common teaching tools and materials? And this is what both Anne Marie and Patty talked about, ELA and math combined. Plan books. Each teacher has a plan book. It's checked weekly. The frameworks are listed by the number of the standard being taught at that particular time. Department meetings monthly. Agenda and a section for comments and concerns. Requested conversation when a topic or concern of interest arises. Common planning time made available by the principal if needed. Meeting with the principal when needed to discuss strategy and concerns. Inventories done at the beginning of the year to make sure everyone has what they need, and a periodic check throughout the year. Use of email if an issue arises and needs attention immediately. Classroom visits when possible during prep time.
That last one is a little hard to do. Anne Marie and I both still have a full load of teaching to do. And, unlike elementary, Judy
common
go in and
planning
service
time.
her kids right in the classroom, so we can't do that. And our prep times are not always, available to us to get in there when the teachers need help, and that's one thing that we have a hard time with.
You mentioned that in the minutes, or it was in the minutes of the math, that you're having a hard time. And
Yeah, when teachers need assistance on, especially new programs, it's very difficult because if Mike is very good about freeing us up, but where does that leave our kids?
Right.
And it's unfair to the kids that we're teaching, so it's a very difficult thing to do, to help them. And they do ask for help, but it's almost like you can only do it after school, and then it's not as meaningful, because if you want to do the modeling of whatever it is the teacher's having trouble with, you need the kids in front of you to do it. It's more realistic to do it that way. So it is, that's a tough situation that Anne Marie and I find having a hard time with.
Now we're coming up with the
Any
problem.
solution?
Start the day later?
Without involving money, no. So,
Well, now we're going to talk about the problems we've uncovered, and this is what Anne Marie and Patty says and how they're being addressed. Schedules. Not enough time to teach all components of ELA, ongoing conversations with department and principal. Block periods have not always been back-to-back and need to be. Materials for ELA are out of date, not meeting needs of all students. Correcting papers is ongoing and very difficult to keep up with or get them back in a timely fashion. The weight of writing appears to be on the ELA teachers to not only teach the genres of writing, the process, the reinforcement of writing development, spelling, vocabulary, usage, conventions, and mechanics of writing when other disciplines could exist, such as a social studies teacher and a science teacher. Forever Patty's telling me, why can't they correct for grammar? Why can't they get involved? So we're going to share this with our teachers tomorrow
good point.
and get some feedback from them too, because I'm going to have Patty and Anne Marie present this to our staff tomorrow for our professional development, because I think the entire staff needs to see what these two departments have done. So maybe we can get some help with this tomorrow. No common planning time for academic grade level teachers to meet. We're working on that. I lost my paras from last year. I lost 3 paras, and they used to cover for this time, so we've got to tweak the schedule and work on that. Math being taught early morning between periods 1 and 4 and move tutorial to the end of the day. We're going to work on that next year.
That sounds interesting.
I had a quick question.
Sure.
I like that.
I made a highlight here, and it was from the beginning of the year. It said many feel homework still remains an issue in the classes. How's that working out?
Very little improvement. And I know that we just recently had a parents' night back in January, and
I was there.
we addressed homework as our last selling point before parents went out, so that it would kind of stick in their head that homework's important, and we don't give it because we have nothing else to do. It reinforces the skills that were taught during the day. It reinforces skills that the students might weaken, and that we need to continue to have homework be graded. So that it has to count towards something. Because once we stop using the grading of homework, students will definitely not use it. Because some parents said, well, why don't you assign it, but if they don't do it, don't hold it against them. Well, that's a difficult situation, because who's going to do homework if it's
Right, if it's
not
optional.
going to count?
Count.
I know that...
Why were they saying that?
Well, because it's the same people who come all the time, those
Yeah.
parents that their students do the homework.
they're listening to the same thing all the time. It's not even their issue. It's the parents that you can't get in there, and it's the children that year after year. I could write a list this year and say the kids that don't do homework and give it to her. She could wait first quarter to open it, and she would match it with the same thing.
We called over 50
It's very common.
parents. We made over 50 personal phone calls to parents for that math night for them to attend, and I thought it went really well. I
Me too.
did quite a few of them myself, and I mean, parents seemed like they were concerned and that they cared, but we only had 7 out of over 50 that were called show up. Because we asked them, you know, did you come because you received a personal phone call? And 7 raised their hand, and I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Betches, they appreciated that phone
Oh,
call.
very big.
So that's why they made the
Well,
effort.
it's a step in the right direction.
We tried,
I commend you
yeah.
for trying, and I
We're
think we should
working
keep
on
it
it.
up. I mean, if
We're
we
going
get,
to.
maybe we'll get, a few more percentage next year.
We're going to, absolutely.
Exactly, that's the goal.
We're going to have that every year. Okay, the last one, we're going to try to change our schedule around and have tutorial and band and music in the afternoons. We'll have more academics in the morning. That makes
Can I
sense.
just,
Yes, Mr. Sheridan,
don't we have that connected?
I used it.
yeah,
So
he
that's
did.
that's how
We
you're
did
doing
that
it. So
too.
you're not calling it, I mean, you just...
Now, these are just,
No, this
these
was
are people.
a personal touch
I
afterwards.
used Connect Ed to call everybody, and then they called
Right, well, the
personally.
ones that showed up appreciate it, but that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Probably alienating some other people by calling them.
Oh, they made it quite
The one
clear that we
Right,
alienated
but the
them.
7 that came, of course, they appreciated the call because they had the interest to
Absolutely.
come.
Yes.
It's those other people that don't care, or that
We just can't seem to
don't
reach
respond to the
this
phone
time.
call, you know, I don't know.
We have new
Some of them were
ideas.
angry. They yelled at them.
Well, yeah, I mean, sometimes you alienate, you know, I have no doubt that the ones that took the time to come appreciate it.
Definitely.
Some yell.
It's getting the other ones in there, that's the issue.
Well, some might feel they're being singled out,
Right,
you know? It's a hard thing
yeah, I mean,
to go
it's-
either way.
if you're getting a
If you don't
personal
do it,
phone
you're not
call, it's
gonna
kind of like you're
get
getting
the stuff.
scolded or brought to the
Do it,
principal's
some
office,
get
you know?
insulted by it.
But, yeah, I can see it working both ways.
Yeah, we thought we were doing them a favor. But we reached every household 2 A's, a flyer and the connected. And some households got 3 notices of it. So we're trying, we're working on it.
Next one is curriculum. Are all classes staying on the agreed schedule? If not, what strategy have you employed? Math. With the new math series, for the most part, teachers are staying together. And that's happening more this year than it's ever happened. We've emphasized that, and in fact, we mandated it, and for the most part, teachers are staying together. The same skills are being taught each quarter. We want to make sure every kid's getting the bang for the buck, so there's no one being shortchanged, and the same skills are being taught in math each quarter. By quarter, curriculum is being addressed with skills and the same materials being used. ELA. By quarter, curriculum is being addressed with the skills. Materials used may be different due to shortage. Example, some novels don't have enough for a team, sometimes for a class.
Now, are they needing to discuss how they grade? Is everybody grading on the same level?
More so than ever before. So yes. And we're going to even have a uniform grading policy. Right now, on the report card, our 7th and 8th grade kids are graded numerically, and our 5th and 6th grades are graded with a letter grade, but we're going to have everyone graded numerically next year. So it's all going to be basically the same.
So if one teacher's given 4 points for a question, another teacher's given 4 points for a question, if they're all teaching about the same level.
Should be equal.
Yeah.
Within that discipline.
Yeah.
Should be
In
equal.
that cloud. Okay.
Bear with me. Keep your heads up, folks. Do my best.
Right here.
Well, it's great.
Instructional materials.
Very informative.
Are instructional materials meeting the needs of your department? If not, what are the shortcomings? Math. And math grades 5 and 6 using brand new math series. We did have to order new books right away because the number of students that moved in over the summer. Grades 7 and 8 have enough books, some in tough condition, but enough for each student to have one. We did order new 7th grade textbooks due to the larger number of students in the grade. We also tried to purchase Spanish version, but they were not available.
Yeah, no longer available, and they had none left on the shelves. We just thought it might have been a little bit easier for some of the ELL learners who were really making gains with them, but because of the vocabulary, Mrs. Hustle thought maybe we could get even further if we had the Spanish version, but it was...
Now, are these books that we're going to be looking to replace next year?
Actually, we have done that in the 7th grade and 8th grade. We're
They're in the
pretty
budget.
good. We still have plenty to...
We're okay for this coming school year.
For this coming?
Yes, we're
Yes.
okay.
We
Yes.
are, definitely. We checked that out.
ELA, series outdated, not geared to the frameworks or time period. Grade 8 seriously outdated. At least one grade 8 teacher is teaching from a book where she's listed as a student. Pam Gent. Pam's our 8th grade ELA teacher, and one of the kids has a book that Pam used when she was in the 8th grade.
Yeah, that's not good.
Don't shoot the messenger.
Who was president back then?
I don't know. Lincoln? I don't know. It wasn't that far back.
She's gonna kill you.
We cannot send some books home because each class only has 30 copies and many in horrible condition. So that's a priority for the middle school. Although, let me just say this, we've had adequate yearly progress every year in ELA. We're doing wonderful things. Of course, statewide again, the ELA scores are way higher than the math scores, but we definitely want to update our curriculum in ELA. It is a priority.
Mike, can I say something?
Yes,
A lot
Patty.
of that material that is being used by the ELA teachers is being purchased by them personally. They either all buy workbooks and whatever and run us, and we share them. But if we don't, there's just nothing there. I mean, the series, you can't buy anything from the series. The copyright date, you're not supposed to copy things, which we do, but you can't send them home because you really shouldn't send them out of the building if they're copyright. If they have a copyright on them. So a lot of that material we have is purchased on our own.
All right, the new, up to grade, what level is getting the new ELA series?
5.
5?
5.
And I asked about a pricing for 6, 7, 8, and you said you were meeting with them last week. How did we make
Spoke
out?
to the gentleman, he could not guarantee the price for the next year, but he did offer me a deal that if I did buy the series this year, he'd split the price over 2 years. I countered with another offer back to him. I'm waiting to hear.
So what was the price to add it?
$46,000.
For this year?
3 grades. But you got to remember, you're not teaching. It's just not a straight cut and dry class. You have an English book. You have a vocabulary book. You have a spelling book. You have the reader. And then there's supplementary material like novels that go along with it. So there's a lot of material to it. It's not just a cut and dry one subject.
And that's for this year? To purchase this year?
So that's
Next
coming
year.
next.
I mean,
They were
that's what I
willing
mean.
to split, what, 23,000 this year and 23,000 next year? Is that what you were saying?
That's what his
He
offer
offered you?
And they would be for
And he
September.
checked with his higher up.
And this was a sister company, not the same.
This is a sister company for Hardcore.
For hardcore, but that's not to say we're gonna get hardcore, but hardcore and Scott Poison are pretty close, so it's, you know, the transition would be
Compatible.
okay.
Will we need,
Yeah, hardcore.
will we lean in any
Scott
direction
Poison
yet?
very
or not?
similar.
In terms of...
For the
any
ELA?
feedback? Yeah.
I don't know if that would be,
No, I'm just-
say that.
I'm
I'll
just
tell you
curious.
off camera, but
Okay.
Okay, all right, that's it.
I mean, but we're starting to get some consensus on it? Okay.
Two more. Instruction. If new materials or programs are needed, how will they be assessed? Math pre and post test accompanied with series, midterm exams, department heads keeping cumulative folders for scores for each grade level, tracking skills, department meetings, discussions of the positive and negative aspects of the program, MCAS or standardized test. ELA, use of new materials provides for consistency in grade levels. Vertical skills could be tracked by pre, midterm, post testing. Running records of skills, comprehension, and holistic writings are part of the series testing. At present, they are not available, not printing them for the series we have. Department meetings, discussions of the positive and negative aspects of the program, as well as strengths and weaknesses, surveys given to kids, MCAS or standardized test.
Just out of curiosity, how are we doing, is the issue in, you know, the math homework issue, do you have the same issue with ELA?
Oh, no,
As far as, you know,
doing it.
completion of it,
Homework, yeah?
yeah, same issues.
So,
Oh, I'm sure.
Across the board,
Same kids probably, yeah.
even when you assign social studies and science, it's the same.
Mrs. Gage and I are piloting that with those two programs, and when we gave the books out to the kids, they were like, their eyes just lit up. It's like a fresh new start, because the stories are different, and they're, you know, they're more in tune to what's
they're
happening
living.
now and what they have lived through in the last, 10 years for fifth grade.
Right.
Where the other ones are a little bit, they're outdated, they're not as fresh as these.
Little House on the Prairie.
And they, well, yeah, they come, they're more towards the framework too, and what they're expected to do. Just the way they present them.
Okay. Testing standards are all teachers using the same criteria to evaluate success. How's it achieved? Math, of course, MCAS. Prep times for teachers used to discuss where we are in the text, quizzes and projects. Department meetings, we're able to share ideas. Highlight copy of the frameworks covered and then able to pass them on to the next grade level. So the teacher sees what was covered in grade 5 so they can start in grade 6. Vocabulary days, grades 5 through 8. Projects, units, and Scott Forsman books appropriate and meet the needs of all students. Under ELA, MCAS, ELA workbooks, skill comprehension, writing, vocabulary, novel ties, projects, whether they be group, individual, or independent, and interdisciplinary thematic units. Testing standards are our grading standards uniform. Math, grading policies are sent to the office. We get copies of grading policies in September every year. We're going to make sure they're consistent next September. We're going to make sure that that's going to be my message, the first teacher orientation. The grading policies are sent and grading standards are similar, and the same tests and quizzes are given for the most part in every content area. That's for math. Again, ELA, all grading policies sent to the office. Policies may vary due to the material being used, and Patty said because of different novels and budgetary restraints, you can't have the same consistency there yet. Common instructional practices. This is both math and ELA. What do they do together? Cooperative learning, peer tutoring, that should be PER, right? Okay. Hands-on activities.
Or pair to.
For pair. PER.
Pair.
Oh, pair, right. A pair of people, right.
Pair reading, too,
Okay.
so it's pair.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I stand corrected. Hands-on activities, math manipulatives, solving problems where students can use their background knowledge, making it connected to their lives. A lot of visuals used during the instruction of lessons, overheads, board work, charts, posters, and student modeling. Use of journals, differentiating instruction. Not all kids learn the same way, and different teaching styles and personalities. What instructional strategies are in practice? The common spelling and vocabulary for ELA, open response questions, essay, daily journals, informal classroom testing, cooperative groups, peer tutoring, peer readers, independent assignments by level, projects, lecture-style direct teaching, student-centered, differentiated teaching, including inclusion in ELL learners, and assessing for effectiveness. How are these strategies assessed? This is ELA and math. How do you make sure what you're doing is right? We give tests, quizzes, oral reports, presentations, collections of sample work to include journals and writing samples, cumulative journals. Students share answers to MCAS questions with the group and the explanation of how that answer was determined. Walk-around teacher observations. Students model in front of the class to show understanding. And that's been proven through documented evidence throughout the years. The best way for a kid to prove that he's learned is to show his work to other kids. Model your work in front of the class. Common instructional strategies, informal observations, use of word and context to assess meaning, practice pages and books, paired tutoring, shared results, teacher asks questions when visuals are being used, students may be asked to write about group work, and how solving problems were addressed. And the last page here, okay, important information. MCAS take precedence, are used for all in guiding the curriculum for both math and ELA. Use of the math curriculum frameworks along with the curriculum guides for each grade level in each academic area. Teachers continue to work hard in preparing students to pass the MCAS as well as cover the academic curriculum, and the Clinton Middle School staff continues to work together to make sure that no child is left behind. This was a tremendous amount of information. You all have a copy. You have time to digest it in the next week or two, and if you have questions prior to the next meeting, I'll be glad to come back and answer them for you. There was a lot to go through.
This is
Well,
great.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great,
Really.
thank you both.
Thank you,
all.
Mrs.
Thank you,
Kerrigan.
teachers.
Yep, thank everybody for us. That's a lot. All right.
Hastings?
Stay here.
As long as you're not running the computer, we'll get through this.
Yeah, Dave.
You're right. We're gonna do this in two parts.
You take
First the math and then the ELA, okay? We have math. This will follow along with our presentation of the math.
Thank you.
Math and
By the chair.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scoop.
What's that, Steve? Working with me this evening on the math department will be its chair, Steve Meyer.
Hi, Steve.
I want to reiterate what Mr. Vetras said, that one of the real important parts, as far as I'm concerned, is being an administrator here at the high school is having the department chairs. And we do use that for everything from decision making to reflections to goals and visions. It's kind of ironic that we have this, we bring this up because at one point we did not have them. We lost them for whatever reason, and I don't recall why. But it was
sounds correct.
our visit from the NEASNC that really strongly encouraged us to bring them back. So here they are coming back and to visit us again. I'm going to let Mr. Meyer walk us through this as his presentation will follow along with the questions that we were given for this presentation. And Steve, if you want to...
Okay. As Ms. Hastings mentioned, I just kind of went through and addressed each question point by point, much like the other presentations. The first question dealt with how are we improving academic performance. And I guess the biggest step that we've made in the high school, I would say, is each teacher has a copy of a binder just like this, which you can look at if you want. This is the one from my desk. And it is the curriculum guide for every course in math. It also has a copy of the Massachusetts curriculum frameworks in the back, so every teacher has access to this on their desk at all times and should be referencing. We use department-wide collaboration, monthly meetings. All our curriculum guides were voted on and created as a department. It wasn't just it magically came up one day. We do MCAS and PSAT analysis. I also brought a copy, if you guys want to see it, of the MCAS report we presented in October. We already went through that with the test whiz. We do that every year to try to look and see if there's any deficiencies in our curriculum and address that. We also do sort of a similar analysis with PSAT results. We don't really have access with test whiz, so it's a lot harder to generate graphs and track things over a multiple year period, but we do get the results, and we do analyze them, try to see the weak spots, and make sure that those are also being included in our curriculum. Also, common assessment, as outlined in the curriculum guides, each course uses the same percentages. So if homework is 15% of the grade in my class, it's also 15% of the grade in another Algebra 1 class. We have common testing. Most of these tests are made through the test generator software. Common testing leads itself very well in mathematics because you can test the same concept an infinite number of ways with different numbers. And we also have the use of department-wide rubrics, as was mentioned with the 4-3-2-1 system. We use that for grading projects, for grading journal entries, as well as for partial credit. So when I give you an open response question on a test, you get a 0 through 4 based on how correct that item was. And then I total up all the 4s, and that's what your score is out of.
I think one thing too, Steve, to throw in here is we do also require, as far as the plan books go, that they do list the standard for which they would be following each, and that's an agreement that they do that through department as well.
Yeah,
There's a standard to
plan books on that.
Yeah.
New programs, the next question I dealt with the effectiveness of new programs. Really, the only new program we have this year is a new course, AP Calculus BC. It's the first time we've offered this course. It's a second-year calculus course. So really the only thing we did is we got a BC workbook to supplement the current AP Calculus text. So the only thing I'll really be looking at the end of the year is how well did this workbook work. And what I can use is the BC AP test scores.
Just a question, what's BC stand for?
Okay, there's 3 areas of calculus. There are derivatives, integrals, and infinite series. So AB refers to you teaching derivatives and integrals. BC is really going integrals and infinite series. It's just an extension of the topics.
Oh, all right.
Okay. So what we'll be able to do is be able to look at BC, the more advanced of the second year course. And what we can also do is within the BC test, we take an AB subscore, which will let us know how their basic calculus skills were. So we can try to compare if it's their overall calculus skills or just the BC concepts. So that's how we plan on judging the effectiveness of that. The next one said, are there standards you suggest for standardizing assessment methodology? Course-specific assessment standards are explained in detail in the curriculum guides. It gets so far as to say in a geometry course you need to do at least one project involving Geometry Sketchpad, and you should do one project involving Excel, or where it goes through and lists all those. Common testing, as I mentioned, every teacher teaching the same course has to collaborate to create a test. Each of those tests are then stored in the math office in a folder, so I have all the tests that they've given throughout the entire year, and that way we can reference them for future years, or we just pull them out if we need them. And we have established department-wide rubrics for projects, journals, and partial credit. SAT and MCAS strategies. Probably our primary attack on MCAS and SAT would really be the journal work. That's basically exclusively MCAS problems in Algebra 1 and Geometry. Go right on the DOE website. You can search, pull up a specific open response problem. They'll give you the list that meet your criteria and have them all do it. And they get used to answering all the parts of the question. That's a big thing we found. Kids just not even willing to answer the whole question because they don't know where to start. Then once you get beyond geometry, Algebra 2, pre-calculus, advanced math concepts, now you switch over in your journals and using more SAT, PSAT style problems to get them used to that format. Half of our advanced math concepts course is essentially SAT prep. And that's basically half the curriculum at the beginning of the year. We do offer a half-year MCAS prep class that all the students who did not pass MCAS are automatically enrolled in.
Is that new, excuse me, that MCAS prep class, is that new?
No, we've offered that for
a couple of years now. We've had that.
Quite a while now, probably 5 years at least.
Yeah, and it also ties in with the student success plan. It's one of the things that would be an option for the students.
Because I know there's a prep
preparation, yeah.
SAT.
Yes.
I didn't know there was an MCAS.
Yeah, it's a half-year course. It's usually not.
Does that just come through
Yeah, it can couple it. I mean, a student can be taking will be taking a math, but they also take this beyond it.
Oh,
So it's a half-year course. It may be, as Mr. Meyer said, someone who came out of the middle school did not do well. Their profile falls over here.
So it may not be offered to everyone.
Right, or a student who comes to us, it may be a junior who's never come from another
Oh, sure.
Schools district outside the state, or outside the country, and it's a good preparation for a student to on how to take the test as well as what the content of the test. It's a great. It's about 4 or 5 years now we've had it.
Wow.
And the last bullet up there, completion of student success plans, that's what Mr. Hastings mentioned. It's for each primary math teacher of the student. For example, if I have a student in Algebra 1 and this student failed the 8th grade MCAS, I go in Test Whiz, I pull up their records, and I fill out a student success plan that mentions where their weaknesses are, where their strengths are, as well as starting to get into make some recommendations for what would help the student. Should they be in MCAS prep? Do they need one-on-one tutoring? That kind of stuff. And then that's passed on, and guidance counselors look at it. So the next section was curriculum. How are you as chairs assessing all instructors adhering to agreed curriculum and utilizing common teaching tools and materials? One of the things, department does not evaluate teachers. We're not actually the ones that go in and do observations of the teachers. That's done by the administrators. We do get some feedback informally, I guess, through the, or formally through the meetings with the administrators. We meet every 2 weeks.
That's true, and that's the way it reads, that we did not evaluate per se. But to work one-on-one with the department heads is very common. So-and-so may be something that needs to be addressed, maybe something to be offered, maybe something to be improved, maybe something to be recognized in a positive light. Whatever it may be, it's a very common practice to work, for me to meet directly with the department head. Do you feel you should approach it? You want me to approach it? That type of thing. Should we do it together? Type of thing. So there's a real communication, and their role is very much very direct with the teachers, except for sitting down and actually doing the observation and writing down. But at the same time, they are observing. They're there in the way we're set up in the building, where it's basically in the same wing of the building, the same hallway. It helps also to do it.
Curriculum ideas are discussed at monthly department meetings. Basically, as I mentioned, we implemented this new curriculum guide in the fall of this year. So each monthly department meeting, we always it's always on the agenda to talk about, did anyone notice anything in the curriculum guide? Is there any section you did that you really think shouldn't be there? Should we reorder something or change something? So that's really a living document that we're always looking to keep current. All classes have specific content to cover outlined in the curriculum guide, meaning in the curriculum guide, if it says in Algebra 1 you need to cover chapters 1 to 10, you've got to cover chapters 1 to 10, which means, you probably should be around 5 or 6 at the mid-year. And most of the teachers have taught the classes before. We understand the pacing. And I'd say common testing helps them monitor pace. Because normally there's an experience, at least if there's a new teacher, usually there's at least an experienced teachers teaching the same course, and they kind of help lead them and say, we both got to do a chapter 1 test now, you should be catching up, and so that's sort of how we maintain that.
But also on that same note, a really good example is, unfortunately, we had a teacher who was sick at the beginning of the school year, and he was out almost 2 months, and we were able to bring in a long-term sub with a math background specialty, and to the department having the same testing, the same common curriculum, they were able to work directly with that. So those students hopefully
stayed with their peers.
It was very. We did make that transition easier with the department and stuff, because they were able to get guidance and materials from teachers teaching the same courses. Instructional materials, basically what's the status of them. Our MCAS prep, Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2 have effective and current instructional materials. I'd say all our textbooks are aligned to the current Massachusetts frameworks. Really not a dire need for anything. We do have new geometry software this year, which is very good. Pre-calculus, calculus have adequate instructional materials. All I really mean by that is pre-calculus, we're having a problem. A lot of the books are actually sort of just falling apart. I don't think they have a core batch of them or something. We're going to try to look into getting those rebound. It's in the budget for this year. And calculus, the book is written on more of a collegiate level, not necessarily for the AP test, which is fine. It covers the right amount of material. It just takes a lot of digging around and jumping around, whereas there are some books written more for the high school level where you can go straight through. Applied math and advanced math concepts have limited instructional materials. We've been in the process, I think since I've been here, of trying to actually look for applied math books, and it's a very difficult subject to say exactly where you want to go with that course. find something on par with the right reading level and difficulty. So we kind of use a variety of supplemental sources now in that course, and eventually we would like to purchase a new series. Testing standards, as I mentioned, in the curriculum guide, each course has a specific grade breakdown. So you know my class is 45% tests, 15% homework, 15% quizzes, 10% projects, however it goes. Each course has common testing. The teachers are collaborating to create these tests. It's not just like one person makes a test and says, this is what we're given. We work together, they go through, pass it around. All tests are stored in the math office, as I mentioned, so we can reference them. We do have department-wide rubrics, as I mentioned before, so we're all, if you pass a project into me, pass a project into somebody else, hopefully we're looking at them, looking at rubrics and saying, this is a 4, and this is a 3, and you're getting the same grade. And testing policies and procedures are reviewed during monthly math meetings. Basically go through, especially when midterms come around, to talk about exactly how your test should be formatted, what you should be doing as far as time, who gets extra time, that kind of stuff. Make sure everyone's on the same page. Common instructional strategies. There is a daily routine also given in the curriculum guide. Okay, our basic routine starts with warm-ups, so the kids come into class, they're immediately on task. Then we always check homework, go over the homework. Presentation of new material, I put in quotation marks, that may vary. It could be anything from a lecture, could be an activity, it could be computer lab. Somehow that's where you present your new material. That also might be where you put a quiz in. And then each day ends with homework. So we're always assigning homework, we're always checking homework. And common assessment leads to common instruction. Really what I put there is basically if we're all doing similar journal entries, we're all doing similar projects, we're all doing the same tests, you really are forcing everybody to cover the same material and go through and hopefully using similar methods, which we do communicate a lot in our department meetings.
Does your homework get done?
Usually, yes.
Yeah, we also have a homework policy, like the entire district, but, and the same idea of grade times 10. And it's also to encourage, as I think Anne Marie was saying, to reinforce the skills during the day. But we also have a very strong policy about each teacher holding the student accountable for the completion of those homework assignments. If he or she does not complete their homework, they have a teacher detention for the day. If they fail to do that, they get a general detention. And a great percentage of our students are involved in activities in sports and drama and first and what have you. And if they do not do that, general detention, if they're in the general detention, they don't participate. They go to their activity, but they have to kind of observe. And like I said, I don't mean that we don't want to force it as a deterrent type of thing. We want to encourage it as a positive thing. But you do have that, and it makes a difference where so many students are involved.
It's a motivating factor.
Yeah, it is. I
Jump
mean,
on
it's
board.
not just to say, you got to do it or else, but it's.
But it's a teacher.
It's been very effective.
It's a teacher detention.
Yeah.
That might be the key. It's a
Yeah.
You're in there.
With a teacher detention, you can go to you're held accountable to be afterwards and to
Into that,
make
to
sure
finish
that-
it?
Finish it, exactly, and present it to the teacher, and spend the time.
That might be the key.
Nothing
I
that's
think it's-
effective. Not to cut you.
I'm sorry.
Nothing that's effective are the teacher detentions.
No, I'm
makes
just
sense.
saying,
Well, I'm just saying,
when you go to
I'm
a
not-
general, you might not even be attempting it there either.
But I'm just
Where
saying,
if
the
you-
teacher detention, what's nice about them is it brings that kid back, and you actually have a chance to go,
Right.
what's up?
What's the problem?
Why aren't
Yeah.
they doing the homework?
Exactly.
And
That might be
it's
key.
almost to the point where you can,
If there's a
most
problem,
high school
identify
kids, you
it.
can kind of try to get it through and go, if you want to pass the class, or
Yeah.
what's going on, you
And
have
which leads
problems,
us-
is there some sort of circumstance I need to know about? And it really helps you, and I find that I really have very few homework problems.
No.
Every once in a while you get a tough case, but for the most part.
That's true. It leads to a lot of other different types of successes with the student, like having that, whether it be, preventing a dropout, anything to soar, for students who are at risk, maybe, like Mr. Meyer says, you do become closer to that student, you do know a lot about him. And that's what the success has been, I think, a lot here, is the teachers on the quote-unquote front line, knowing the students' grassroots type of
I like the manual with the same test and the policies and that, and the MCAS.
Now-
What kind of uniform?
The high school has a late bus though, in case they do get a detention. Does the
Oh, we do.
middle school have a late bus as well?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you think this would work with you, with teacher
If you guys want to take a
detention?
look at this, you're more than welcome to. I would like it back if possible, yeah. This is outside MCAS. You can
It's different at the
It is,
middle
yeah.
Oh, it is, so we can't do it.
Wise.
We can't keep them immediate.
Most of the time, the parents refuse because they can't get them, and they don't want to walk home alone, and I don't blame them.
No, you can't, right.
They're young.
Well, there's a late bus though, no?
Well, there is, but
The
sometimes
late
if you
bus
want to
isn't
keep them...
necessarily for the detention students because we fill it with the play students, the MCAS extra help students, the teacher extra help days. And
Yeah, but do we
every day
offer that,
have
we offer that at the
something
high
going
school
on
too,
that easily can
for
fill
the
that
play
extra
children.
bus.
We only got one bus, right?
Right.
Well, there's one each
The middle school.
Oh, the car thing, yeah.
Detentions for homework, and that's not fair.
I thought that'd be a nice idea.
I'm sorry?
Because they're doing homework, because they're not doing homework. Consistently.
The same child could not do homework for 5 nights.
So you're
have
keeping
5
that
days
same
after
teacher
school.
after school, just because the kid's not doing the work. It's not fair to the teacher.
Right, the teacher.
Oh, does the teacher
Teacher's doing
detention?
more time than the teacher.
Detention's with the teacher.
Stay?
Teachers are mandated to stay anyways,
Teachers
if
are
someone
mandated to
shows up
stay,
in
yeah.
15 minutes. After, they have to wait 15 minutes and then must stay anyway, so it's in the contract anyways, except for,
So the teachers aren't staying beyond their day if they have a teacher detention?
They could
No.
We
choose
stay
to,
till
but
3:20.
And what time is your day supposed to end?
3 o'clock.
3.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, so you are staying 20 extra minutes?
Our last bus sometimes doesn't leave the building till 10:15 or 3. So if we gave a teacher detention, the late bus doesn't leave till 3:30 anyway.
right, so
So we
you've got
have
30
to be,
minutes.
we have to be responsible for those students until they get onto that bus.
You have a 30-minute detention.
Yeah, but their day ended at what time?
3.
They have to stay anyway. If a student stays up, they must stay.
Well, that's what I mean, but if they give a teacher's detention, then they're detentioning themselves, really.
They're staying to help the kids.
Well, that's true.
Staying to
I mean,
help.
really
I know,
helping.
but sometimes you can't devote that extra 20 minutes to that
The high
one
school.
child every single day when you're already staying
He's
later
gonna
anyway.
get the message, or she's gonna get the
I think they
message.
would get it pretty soon. Just like you go,
All the
yeah.
kids nowadays might enjoy
Thank
that.
you.
One of the things that Steve mentioned, and I'm going to go into the ELA now, the
The
English,
one-on-one.
was the new curriculum guides that we've done. As I came here in front of you last year to ask for some release time in preparation for the NESC, but at the same time, one of the requirements for that NSAC was for us to be updated with our curriculum guides. And we have completed those. We're on the eve of them visiting us, but this is not my presentation, so don't worry yet. This is just this. I want to give you a copy of the curriculum
To
guide.
walk out of
This is
here,
the
I
English,
don't have to-
this is the curriculum guide. I don't expect you to look at, to follow through, to read this whole thing this evening. I just wanted to give you a copy.
Oh, you all
This was a lot of work. This was a lot of work on the part
Now,
of
what is this?
the curriculum guide for the English department.
And all departments had to do this mistake,
Yeah.
and bring them all in line
Right.
for this visit.
I saw that in the minutes. Yeah.
So, though it was for the visit, it was also good for us that this happened, okay? And I'm just going to try to walk through on the questions that were given as far as the English go, okay?
Yep.
You have the questions already, right? You have the questions.
I'm sorry, I just lost.
So I'm just going to touch on some of the things for the English academic performance. We updated the curriculum guide as I handed out to you, which you have to read for the next few months, I suppose. We did present in October the MCAS analysis, observation, and conclusion. That was on the final page of that presentation in October, and that was recommendations for improvement in the MCAS.
Very nice.
The SAT, I think Kathy, you asked this, we do have that preparation class for critical reading, which is offered as an elective. Mr. Garrity has been teaching that.
SAT prep.
SAT
Oh, yeah.
prep, yes, we do offer that for academic performance, under the academic performance. And that is planned for next year as of this point, that class, which we couple with our freshman English class, which prepares for MCAS, even though it follows the frameworks. The same idea maybe for our sophomore English class, a sophomore proficiency workshop type of class, half a year, which would help towards the SATs. It's in the planning stages. School-wide expectation rubrics in reading, writing, speaking and listening, problem solving and technology are utilized. That is something that's we've developed in the last 2 years here at the high school. Everybody uses rubrics, different rubrics for reading, for writing. It goes on a basis from 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. When those are used, the students do know every classroom in the building has an explanation for what those rubrics indicate in what specific area, whether it's reading, the writing, communicating, technology, speaking. That's something that we have rubrics across the curriculum for all our courses, as well as within the departments. Okay. We really don't have any new programs per se this year since in the English department. We've been able to develop in the last couple of years our academic support program, peer tutoring, the freshman seminar, but right now, the last year or so, we have not had a new program. Mostly, everyone's teaching the courses we need to have, so there's nothing new on that in area. Assessment standards, the objectives for each course align in the Massachusetts English Language Arts Framework and with the CHS-wide school-wide expectations. Those are in the back of the curriculum framework. You'll see those. Okay. We do use a test whiz. It's used to make observations and inclusion regarding the MCAS results. Mr. Wynn and his department does use those. It's part of the student success plans when they come out of the middle school. As Mr. Meyer mentioned, in the math, we also do include these in whether it be the tutoring for students directly, whether it's peer tutoring class, whether it's an after-school program. Those are all available. Okay, we do have common testing for the English department by grades, by freshmen, for instance, freshman English, sophomore English, etc. SAT, MCAS strategies. The MCAS analysis includes observations, conclusions, recommendations for improvement. That's what we presented in the fall. There were this document. I think we gave this to everybody. I know we did at the beginning of the school year. Includes all those aspects of it. Again, request on the school improvement plan to supply teachers with copies of critical reading and writing PSAT tests to better prepare the students. So what we've asked for is we try to get through guidance results of the questions. We get the questions that were used on the PSATs. They do supply us with the questions, not the exact one each student takes, but the types of questions that are used, and they've been using those in the English department as a PSAT. Another thing too is we've the last 2 years we've started to encourage the sophomores to take the PSAT. And this past year we had last 2 years now, it's been both juniors and sophomores, big numbers of students taking the PSATs. So hopefully, if they're taking those PSATs twice, we're going to get better results. We will continue as far as strategies to continue to offer the SAT half-year course. Ideally down the road, with if there ever is to be funds available for one more part of a teacher, a sophomore proficiency workshop, which I just explained, kind of coupled the idea of the freshman seminar, but more towards the SATs. And we also have been continuing to use the student success plans through Mrs. Foley's program. The curriculum is discussed at monthly meetings as specified by Mr. Meyer, and the math, it's the same in English. As well as specifically designed professional development days. The last year, it's been part of this curriculum development with the NASNC, but also the particular departments. What we would do on most of our professional development days the last year or so is we'd begin the day before we go into the meat of the NASNC preparation and make sure that those curriculum guides are updated and see where we were on those. So we took a part of each day for that. Bi-weekly meetings with myself, the department chairs, and also the curriculum guide has been, as I mentioned, updated. Alignment with the Massachusetts English Language Arts Curriculum and Frameworks, and alignment with the CHS-wide rubrics. I'm starting to repeat myself because these are some of the things that we've done in both these areas. Instructional materials, the English department feels materials meet the needs of the department. We don't hear that too often, do we? We're looking at new textbooks this year. A lot of those AP courses, though, are workbooks, so they have to be replaced each year. The testing standards, as I mentioned, we do use the school-wide rubrics as utilized. The students understand what those rubrics mean. There should be on tests, maybe something attached to their test. They're coming back to them saying why this rubric, how it corresponds to the grade that they have. Rubrics is the real buzzword these days, especially with our visitors coming next week. It's something that's very, very important. I went on a visit in October, and that was the real key. Rubrics, rubrics, and rubrics, which goes along with our mission statement. There are AP rubrics, this is unique, that are utilized for the AP and honors courses. There may be a little bit more higher expectations, but that goes with that type of course. Common testing is practiced, and some material is assessed in different formats to prevent sharing of testing items among students, because one teacher may be teaching a first period honors English, and another teacher across the hall may be teaching in fourth period honors English. So it's the same idea of test, but maybe not the same exact wording, so you don't want to tempt kids, you know?
Right.
Kids are kids, right? I know I was there once. Common instructional strategies. We do follow the curriculum guide, discuss strategies at their monthly department meetings, the English department as well as all the departments do. Presentations and practices may vary according to class makeup and teachers' assessments of class needs. So, you know, an AP class may have more of an oral presentation type of thing sometimes than let's say a freshman English class. And then also use results of the classroom testing, the MCAS, the SAT, the AP testing to assess the effectiveness. So some of those, these are along the, you know, the English department as far as questions.
This is a very impressive.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work. As I said,
I mean, the materials in here.
Yeah. That was just
like my forte.
That was just finished, I mean,
This is
yesterday, because we're down to the wire with this, with the NASC. But everybody is.
All these novels, are these,
They're
do we
gonna
have
be,
these here, or where?
yeah, we have, those are all on, they should be on public access now, or when they're all completed, they'll be on public access. Anyone can download those from the school website.
That's great.
It's a lot of,
Yeah.
they've worked in,
To see what each grade is doing, it's
yeah, it's,
something else.
They download the novels?
no, the curriculum guide itself.
That's what I'm saying, but the novels.
Oh, the novels.
We have
the English
But-
Yes,
Do
yes.
we have all those?
Yes.
I mean, is enough of them to get around?
Well, that's one of the things we need to update, is some of the novels. I've seen the wear and tear of them, so it's the update, but
I mean, the reading
sometimes,
materials
you
in
know,
here,
when you have
I
to
mean,
make, prioritize what textbooks need to be replaced, and we've been doing that. Some of these novels we should have replaced, but we've been able to, you know, wait a
And I'm
wait a
very
year and
impressed
wait
with the
another.
way that the math
Yeah.
is coordinated and organized, and
Yeah, very nice.
probably the most
Very good, very informative evening.
uniform thing I've seen. Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice.
You know, I
Thank you
think
very
before we
much.
lost our department heads, we used to have them in here to give us updates every few months, every quarter or something. And I think that year we lost them with the budget
Yeah.
cuts.
Well,
I don't think we ever got the.
I think we're making
3 years
very
ago
good
was
use
the
of them now, too.
Yeah,
3 years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago now. But it
So
makes it.
this was
it's a-
very, very
no,
helpful.
It's
it was for
this
me
is just,
anyway.
and I
too.
said I don't want to be, take more time here, but that's curriculum. That's just curriculum. There's so many other ways that they're so helpful, and I mean, it's like
Good
it's like
discipline.
micromanagement, really. And, they're all responsible and they're very accountable.
The principal can't do it alone, the vice principal
No,
can't do it alone.
and I do try to use those meetings as a lot of decision-making and policy for the policy, so to speak, for what's best for the school, and whether it be scheduling or what have you, so.
Thank you.
Appreciate all the
Thank you,
work.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Steve.
Thank
Thank you,
everybody for
Ken.
your-
And we'll see you Sunday.
Yeah, yes.
Yes, we will be here.
Okay, that's, I don't know what the questions are. I'd like to tell you what the questions will be, but I don't have them.
That's right, we have the answers.
I'd like to tell you the
It's a great
answers for people, I don't have those
Yeah.
either.
Well, Mr. Chairman, that kind of concludes my report. I would just like to thank the principals and department heads for an excellent presentation this evening, and I hope that it sheds some light on everyone to see how hard that the teachers and department heads and administrators are working, and hopefully that you have a good feeling from what you heard tonight and as you leave here tonight. So
We have appreciated.
Yeah, I would say that,
Very helpful.
number one, thank you very much,
Yes,
and it does
it's
give
very
me
much appreciated.
great hopes for obviously seeing progress, and it also uncovers things obviously we have to work on. So I mean, it's good to know those things, and I do appreciate
Me too.
with all the pressure that goes on that you've brought this to us, and it keeps my faith in the way we've structured things, and that we have the department chairs. And I had a question on what exactly is the NEASC looking for from the school committee?
Doesn't know,
Do we
but
have any
we asked
ideas?
them.
Mr. Gano, they're just general questions. I mean, it's not a test.
No, I understand. I'm just curious.
It's just,
We can get you some questions ahead of time if you'd like, but it's,
Informal?
honestly, I did photocopy some, and I just kind of left them in Mr. Gau's office. I don't think I even bothered to tell him they were there, but...
Where'd you get them?
To,
Yeah,
Well, he's
find them
part
on
of
the
the
wall.
team.
What?
He's part of the team.
I didn't feed him his
Visiting team.
questions, though, but the school committee, on the visits I've been on, the school committee traditionally has maybe 10 questions that people ask them. And it's mostly about, how are you sure that this school is financially backed? I mean, how do you support it financially? What have you done, to promote it? Maybe things like the mission statement. I don't think they're going to ask you to recite it, but do you know offhand what the mission statement is?
Yes.
Or things of that nature. It's more the financial end, but also just the whole idea of administration and overseeing the school.
Terry, could we get a copy of that? Could you put it in the mail for us?
We could do that, sure.
I don't know if we can get it by Saturday.
You mean the questions?
The questions that they asked the school committee.
Yes, I can get
So we
that.
can get an idea.
I'll put it in the mail.
got the answers?
And the answers too.
No.
And the answers.
There are no answers.
No, we have our own.
I've been on one of these too, and as a matter of fact, I was in on the meeting with the school committee, and it's very informal, it's very
Yeah.
relaxed, and there are no
Yeah, we can't be fired.
There really are. It's just basically, how do you support, whether it be the leadership of the building, of the school, the community, the resources you may provide for the, like as Terry said, maybe the budgetary process, what's the steps for the budget, that type of thing.
I don't think we did this last time, did we?
You must have.
Really?
Yeah.
You definitely did if you were on 10 years ago.
Oh, it's been 10 years. Oh.
Oh, yeah, 10.
I think that's
Mrs.
how long it's
McGrill.
been since they've been here?
Denise has done it.
Yeah.
There are 15 people on this visiting committee, but half of them, while you're meeting, half of those people will meet with you, and the other half are going to be meeting with a group of about 10,
Denise
12,
said the
maybe
first time they made your walls look here.
14 parents who we've asked to sit down and meet.
Oh, good. I'm giving
They're
up
all
a
at the same time.
dinner
But the
Sunday
letter, as I mentioned, to the 4
To be
o'clock
able
is
to
the second.
come to
This
this.
is good. It's very important.
And
Yes.
again, if you want to see questions, I can mail them. I do have them. I'm not really sure if they know that you have them. This is something a little different that I thought up, in the last month or so. But I've been on so many of these things that...
Is this cheating?
I don't want to
No.
change.
Let me ask you this, the cameras go on?
Yeah, that camera's on, and is it
No,
cheating?
not at all. No, I don't know. But we are going to talk tomorrow. We're devoting our professional development day, and we're going to be giving questions to the teachers as well.
I'll drop them off to your house. Okay?
Oh, great.
I'll bring them around to your houses tomorrow.
That'd be great.
Just drop me a mailbox.
And if we get an opportunity to express how much money this is costing
Yeah.
the district, I've already laid it into them. they're trying to keep me away from this group, but they're not going to be successful.
Well, I came up with an idea this week. Somebody told me if all the visiting team was over 50, we could have got the rooms and the breakfasts of the old age home that's redone into the bread and breakfast, and we could have roomed them up there.
Oh.
And those rooms are absolutely gorgeous. They're $50 a night.
They're already complaining about the food at the Chalk Inn.
They're complaining?
They're here already?
They don't like the menu.
Camera's on.
Well, I'd like
All the
this on
meals,
camera.
the
I
meal
wanna
there
put
was,
this out
But
there.
the old age home would have been perfect. You know,
You need it.
I guess you can't call it the old age home anymore. What is the new name? I don't even,
I didn't know it was a bed and breakfast.
yes, they're doing bed and breakfast, $50 a night, and those rooms are up, they're like suites, they're gorgeous.
Right around for a party as
Yeah,
well.
right at the park.
I'll do it. I have 2 rooms, I'll do it for half price.
I hope we're not complaining.
And they do serve a continental breakfast, so, well, to keep in mind.
How we doing?
I don't think we have a CTA.
No, at the end, we had a group, dental appointment, it was an evening.
And I don't think there's any
No,
public.
thank you.
Anything other? I have one comment.
I got a couple others.
I would just like to publicly congratulate Krista Duchnowski and C.J. McNamara. They were honored at the Leprechaun Convention
Scholarship.
in memory of Tom Grillis.
Nice.
And for for just being good people and fun students, and they were nominated by quite a few individuals. So
And they are the,
just like to acknowledge that. They're both great kids from fun nights.
Congratulations. Senior hop is this weekend. Keep the kids safe. Hopefully they'll all have a great time. And the South Pacific play,
Next
23rd, 24th, and the 30th and 31st. And the Boston first competition is the 24th and 25th. And there are buses for free running those days. And I'd like a thank you note and a congratulation note, if we could, just send to Mrs. Beck.
Yeah, that would be nice.
If we could send Mrs. Beck a thank you, congratulations on a job well done from that day.
Also for that brochure, 'cause she was the person responsible for that.
Yes,
Okay,
very nice.
brochure
Yeah.
as well.
I agree.
That's all I have.
Yeah.
All right.
You have anything?
I have nothing else.
Carry all the
Entertain a motion to adjourn?
I would entertain that
So
motion.
moved. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Where was, oh, that one.
No, you just said.
Call PTA. We didn't know they were going to make some copies.
Yes, would you?
Oh,
And did you make the copy
They said you
of
had a dental appointment.
this here too?
oh, you want the quotables?
Yeah.
They said Ann had a dental appointment, she wasn't
these are
here.
the ones.
Oh, my.
How many copies?
Yeah.
We were gonna be here tonight.
Pick a number.
I had one.
4 or 5.
You did? We want to reconvene?
Sure, no, I just
Still on.
The camera's still on. Mr. God, the camera's still on. The camera's still running.
Continue the busing for Win?
For the high school, they lost it in there.
They don't have bus
Oh, the busing, thank
Is the
God.
camera off?
Yes, but we've adjourned. The meeting is
I don't know
officially
if the
over.
camera has been turned off.
No, it has not.
Don't forget, Excel Club Senior Citizen Dance, Wednesday, 29th.
The Elks,
When is
Saturday
that?
Elks, the 29th.
Wednesday, the 29th. Thank you. Of March. Excel Club Exchange Club, 4
Yeah.
to 6.
Is it here?
Mary?
Yup, here, like it is
Lower
every
button,
year.
anything you shut
Well,
off.
let me put it down. Terry,
March 29,
March 29,
I think that's a Wednesday. 4
Wednesday.
to 6 p.m.
4 to 6 p.m.
in the high school cafeteria.
High school cafe.
And it's the usual, raffle prizes and dancing and food and
Yeah, and you always were nice enough to get some, yeah.